You can mute if you'd like. In fact, it would be a nice idea to mute, and that way we can get started. Okay, I just want to make sure we were on YouTube. Okay. Okay, so, oh, there's Miranda. Hi, Miranda.
Hello.
I'm glad you were able to come. Okay, so let's see. Hi, Barbara. All right, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. We are going to begin with Three Little Birds. The theme for tonight is light. That's kind of what the Torah portion is about, and we're going to have a few songs that deal with light representing God. So we will begin with Three Little Birds.
Because there has been some technical issues with the sound tonight, let me know if everything is coming through clear and it's not distorted or anything. Don't put it in the chat because I don't have a keyboard next to me. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be alright. Rise up this morning, smile with the rising sun. Three little birds perched by my doorstep, singing sweet songs, melodies pure and true, saying, this is my message to you. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be alright. Rise up this morning, smile with the rising sun. Three little birds perch on my doorstep, singing sweet songs, melodies pure and true, singing, this is my message to you. I will mute myself now.
Okay, and Susie Copel is going to lead us in the candle blessing.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahalik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Thank you, Susie. And Jordan is going to lead us in the Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'hava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lemikrai kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu vaharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamin. V'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim. So in this week's Torah portion, Tetzaveh, the Torah details the kind of oil needed to light the 7-branch menorah and the Ner Tamid, the eternal light. The source of the light is the olive, a light unto the world, according to the Midrash. As Rabbi Miriam Glazer explains, just as the olive's oil gives light, so do its leaves. As they blow in the wind, their silvery underside creates silver clouds of light. To quote Dr. Ephraim Haruveni, no wonder our rabbis imagine the olive leaf in the mouth of Noah's dove, bringing light to the world, and see Sarah's face shining like the olive tree when she hears that she will bear a child. Jeremiah calls Israel an olive tree, leafy and fair. The rabbis say they shed light on all. Most moving of all is the vision of Zechariah. He sees an olive tree on either side of the golden menorah. When he asks the angel what they mean, the angel explains, not by might, not by power, but by spirit, says Adonai. May we too be sources of spiritual light, bringing healing and peace into the world. We continue with this little light of mine.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. All around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Rabbi Denise Egger notes, Aaron and his sons are given instructions for kindling the menorah in the ancient tabernacle. Hidden in the details, yet in plain view, is an important concept. Bring your best to God. All the minutiae detailing the preparation of the priests for their eternal duties points to this idea. When they are told to bring clear pressed olive oil to light the menorah, we understand that only the best and the highest grade will do for lighting the eternal's light. Olive oil was a commodity in the ancient world, but we are taught here to bring the finest. We too ought to ask ourselves, do we bring our best and finest to God and God's house? Or do we seek to cut corners? Do we see how little we can do or give and get away with it? The Chatzi Kaddish is next. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah v'almad yivrach Yehutei v'yamlich malhutei b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayedechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'yimaru Amen. Heshmei Rabbah mevarach Le'alam me'amaya yitbarach v'ishtabach v'yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran ve'alma v'yimaru Amen. And we continue with the Baruch Hu, the call to worship.
Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Baruch Hu et Adonai. Mevorach Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Vaed Le'olam 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 Le'olam, Le'olam,
Television producer David Sachs tells us, most people think the world started with darkness, and then God said, let there be light. Nothing could be further from the truth. God existed before the world did. And one of the names of God in Kabbalistic texts is Or Ein Sof, or light without end. In other words, the starting point of the world is tremendous light, not darkness at all. The Kotzker Rebbe, another Hasidic master, teaches us that the light of the menorah channeled that original light of creation back into the world. This explains the windows in the Holy Temple. Normally, windows are meant to bring in as much light as possible. And yet the windows in the Holy Temple were funnel-shaped, large on the outside, but small on the inside. The rabbis teach that this was for the light of the menorah to shine out to the entire world. Ahavat Olam, God's love for us, resulted in our receiving God's revelation of Torah.
Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta Amcha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu lemadeta Otanu lemadeta Akein Adonai Eloheinu v'shokvenu v'kumenu nasiach bechukecha v'nismak b'divrei toratecha uv'mitzvotecha leolam va'ed ki hem chayenu v'orech yameinu Uvahem nege yomam v'layla, nege yomam v'layla. Ve'avat chal tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
We continue with the Shema, the statement of our faith that God is one and we are all one.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
And Carolee, will you please lead us in the Ve'ahavta?
Absolutely. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha uv'shartam le'od al yadecha v'hayu l'totafot b'neinecha Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha laman tiskaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher Hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
Thanks so much, Carolee.
Again, my pleasure.
In our Torah portion, God commands Moses as follows: "You shall instruct the Israelites to bring you pure olive oil." The wording is odd. Why does God say bring you and not bring to me? According to a midrash, God says the light is for you because God has no need of it. The light is for us, for humanity. Another midrash offers the following: the flame is the mitzvot, God's commandments. Just as a flame can kindle many other lights without being diminished, when we perform acts of loving kindness, we are never diminished. We add to the light in other people's lives, and we ourselves are augmented by doing mitzvot. The flame of the mitzvot is, as Rashi describes, a flame that perpetuates itself. Mitzvah goreret mitzvah. One positive action generates another, and is a shalhevet yah, a fierce and holy flame. The Michamocha, the song we joyously sang after we crossed the Sea of Reeds on dry land.
Oh, mi chamocha ba'alim Adonai. Oh, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Oh, nora tehilo, oh, seifele. Oh, nora tehilo, oh, seifele. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had, redemption song. These songs of freedom. Malchutecha ra'u v'necha bokeyam lifnei Moshe. Ozeli anu ve'amru Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had, redemption song, these songs of freedom, redemption song.
The light we've been talking about is both the light of the menorah and the light of the Ner Tamid, the eternal light, which was to burn continually in the tabernacle. Reb Mimi Feigelson asked several provocative questions. What about divine light is eternal and continual? What is embodied in divine light that remains eternal and continuous in our heart and mind and soul? What can I understand from a commandment to maintain a pure eternal light that is the fruit of human action, wed with divine, miraculous, and continuous light? What does it mean that the gift of sharing the light, by virtue of igniting other candles of the menorah, is not limited to the Kohen, the high priest, those designated from birth to serve, but rather also available to those who chose to come to a place of service? I offer these questions to you as I think we can derive a variety of responses, including the important partnership between us and God in illuminating our world. Hashkivenu, may we lie down in peace.
There is no Hashkivenu slide.
We'll just watch Jordan.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, ve'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, b'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, ve'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim, l'chaim.
And Eileen Stein is going to lead us in the tefillah.
Adonai Sifatai, Sifatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid, Tehilatecha, Adonai Sifatai, Sifatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid, Tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Ve'Elohei Avotenu, Ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Ve'Elohei Leah. El Hagadol, Hagibor, Vahanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vikone Hakol, Vizocher Chaste Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'nehem, Lama'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer, Umoshia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol, Atah Rav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach, Umorid hagashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umido mehalach, Melech meimit umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lechachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, Ukdoshim b'chol yom yachalalu chasela, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Thank you, Eileen.
You're welcome.
And we conclude our tefillah with Shalom Rav, a great peace.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha ve'akol yoshvei tevel. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Ve'akol yoshvei tevel. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim le'olam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol ha-shalom. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol ha-shalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha ve'akol yoshvei tevel. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim le'olam. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך בית ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך והכל יושבי תבל. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim le'olam.
We now take a moment to think of those in need of healing, whether of body, of mind, or of spirit. We think of congregants and friends and family of congregants, Jonathan Davidson, Ben Henderson, Kara Gilman, Rabbi Steve Robbins, Gloria Mangus, Steve Lux, Leslie Ferris, Pamela Mangus, Johnny Sickhat, Sid Love, Larry Miller, Martha Miller, Judy Richmond, Fernando Guerrero, Zach Frankenberg, Miriam Thrawn, Joseph Ritter, Mariola Choshek, Lita Mintz, Elaine Thompson, Kathy Edelson, Jim Anderson. And I will read the names in the chat. Judy Cohen, Jolene Burke, Amy Morton, Charlene Beck, Ruth Sandra and Jess Landis, Diana Anderson, Patty Podnar, Sadie Guerrero, Tyson Smith, Teresa Seitz's friend Thomas and his family, Ed Vogel, Ron Jones and Ron Brazil, Chris Hanlon, Jeff Hicks, Jordan Frankenberg. Any others? And please join us silently in the Misha Baroth, the prayer for healing.
Misha Barach Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov. Misha Barach Imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Bless us with the vision for tomorrow. Help us to reach out to those in pain. May the warmth of friendship ease our sorrow. Give us courage, give us faith, show us the way. Misha Barach Avotenu, Misha Barach Imotenu. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
This month is Jewish Disabilities Awareness Month. And our tradition has not always been so kind to people with disabilities. In fact, there's a tradition of studying one page of Talmud a day, Daf Yomi. And today, this is what was on the Talmud page. This is about who is obligated to appear at the temple for pilgrimage festivals, which is Sukkot, Pesach, and Shavuot. All are obligated to appear in the temple on pilgrimage festivals and make a sacrifice, except for a deaf mute, an imbecile, and a minor. and a tumtum and an androgynous, which are people who have unclear genders, and women, and slaves who are not emancipated, and the lame, the blind, and the sick, and the old, and one who's unable to ascend to Jerusalem on his own legs. So luckily, we have evolved from that place. We are now much more aware of people who have disabilities, but often people have disabilities that we actually are not able to see. And so we need to be conscious of those people as well. So I've invited one of our congregants, Miranda Wanacott, to talk to us tonight about her disabilities, which are both physical and mental. So Miranda, please.
Hello.
Hi, Miranda.
Hi, Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
This is what I had written out was a little clunky because I just got a job, and so.
Oh, mazel tov.
Oh, thank you. I could use that as like a start to the talk as why it's so clunky when I get into it. Because I just got a job, there's this thing called spoon theory, which is kind of like energy for disabled people. We only wake up with a certain amount of spoons, and we lose a spoon doing minor things like getting out of bed, brushing our teeth, taking a shower. And because I have a job, I have less spoons. So my speech is going to be a little clunky.
I'm sure it'll be fine, Miranda.
Thank you.
Uh-oh, now we can't see you.
Oh, no. I had to go into a different tab to see the thing I had written out. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry that you can't see me.
There's a little teensy picture of you, but that'll be fine.
Okay, well, you know what I look like. I have fibromyalgia, asthma, ADHD, BPD, and PTSD with psychotic symptoms. My disabilities, my fibro specifically, actually guided me towards Judaism. It is the biggest part of my life, so I feel like God used it to let me know what direction to go. Before I converted, I was a Christian, and I went to church, and at church, my pain level increased. And then when I walked into the synagogue for the first time, my pain level lowered. That is how I knew where I'm supposed to be. And now I'm able to have this talk, so it feels full circle. I have been disabled my whole life. I don't remember what it feels like not to be in pain, or to not take my emotions to the extreme, or to not be able to sleep and wake up feeling like I rested at all. All of this causes me to navigate my daily life entirely different from someone who does not have disabilities. A lot of the time, I will see an inspiration piece about disabled people who made it against the odds, and a term I see a lot in these is differently abled. Applying that if we all just pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, we can live life, quote unquote, normally, but that is not a universal. Saying that I'm differently abled is like saying that we as Jewish people are differently Christian. This is just fundamentally different and not the same, even if you can't see it. I don't use a wheelchair or a walker, nor do I have a service dog. I don't even use my cane most of the time, but life is incredibly different for me. I have learned how to do everyday activities in a way that fits me because of my pain and my tendency to get quickly fatigued. I will cook or shower sitting down. Because of my brain fog, making decisions is extremely difficult, so I form extensive systems for things people don't even think about. For example, the outfit I am wearing now, I'm only wearing it because it was quote unquote next in line. Unfortunately, because I don't use a mobility aid, my disabilities are invisible, so it can be hard to navigate life when I'm in public or with others. Abled people I know want to be inclusive and want to give accommodations, but then don't think about what they can do past petitioning for ramps or wheelchair elevator lifts. The biggest thing can be not to judge someone for acting weird in public and to believe someone's disability no matter how normal they look. I get told not to use the motor carts at the store because these are reserved for the elderly and disabled, and will not believe me when I tell them that I am disabled, and it makes shopping very difficult. Outside of that, though, there's little things like every business should provide seating. If it isn't a place, even one would be seated. And every bus stop should have at least one bench. Being disabled sucks for many reasons, but it also taught me about the value of asking for help, which I still have trouble with, but I'm doing what I can, and preserving energy. Like in the essay that you'll hear later, I heard that I learned that laziness is not a bad thing. That's all I had written out. Is there anything else I should talk about?
Suzanne, you're muted.
Maybe people would like to ask questions. Thank you. You have to
Oh,
be
yeah.
muted at least once during a Zoom meeting. So please, if people have questions, please feel free. And if not, I will read you something that Miranda mentioned. By the way, Miranda, that was great. That was not clunky in the slightest bit.
Okay,
So-
cool. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. What I want to read to you is there are two essays by a disabled rabbi, Elliot Kukla. He talks about, the first one is about, in my chronic illness, I found a deeper meaning. I became disabled overnight in a car accident. The car accident was a dream, but the disability was real. And he talks about what that's all about. But the one about being lazy, which was an op-ed that he wrote for the New York Times, was something that Miranda said she was going to want to teach her children. So this is sort of perfect. He says, the most valuable thing I can teach my kid is how to be lazy. So it starts with, Abba, I have an idea, says my 3-year-old. Put on your pajamas and your big mask, turn off the light and get into bed. That sounds great, I say, honestly. I strap on my sleep apnea mask, change into soft, worn cotton PJs, and crawl under the fluffy white duvet with him. Within seconds, he is lulled to sleep by the familiar, gentle wheezing of my breathing machine. He knows the sight and sound of my sleeping body well. I have lupus, an autoimmune disease that causes chronic fatigue. On a good day, I can get by on 10 hours or so of sleep. When my condition flares, sometimes for weeks on end, I need to sleep for much of the day and night. Before my child was born, I was afraid that my fatigue would make it impossible for me to be a good parent. And it's true that I often juggle parenting needs and exhaustion. What I didn't anticipate is that prioritizing rest, sleep, and dreaming is also something tangible I can offer my child. He sees me napping every day and he wants in. We build elaborate nests and gaze out the window together, luxuriously leaning on huge mounds of pillows. Most 3-year-olds I know fight bedtime, but we snuggle under the blankets on cold winter evenings, sighing in synchronized delight. America in 2022 is an exhausting place to live. I think we can all agree on that. Pretty much everyone I know is tired. We're tired of answering work emails after dinner. We're tired of caring for senior family members in a crumbling elder care system, of worrying about a mass shooting at our children's schools. We're tired by unprocessed grief and untended to illness and depression. We're tired of wildfires becoming a fact of life in the West, of floods and hurricanes hitting the South and East. We're really tired of this unending pandemic. Most of all, we're exhausted by trying to keep going as if everything is fine. Increasing numbers of people are refusing to push through this mounting weariness. There are currently 10 million job openings in the United States, up from 6.4 million before the pandemic. This trend is being led by young people. Millions are planning to leave their jobs in the coming year. Some middle-aged people decry the laziness of today's youth. But as a chronically sick Gen X parent, and as a rabbi who has spent much of my career tending to dying people as their lives naturally slow, I am cheering young people on in this great resignation. I have seen the limits of the grind. I want my child to learn how to be lazy. The English word lazy is derived from the German leish, meaning weak or feeble, and the Old Norse lesu, meaning false or evil. Devin Price, a sociologist who studies laziness, remarks that these two origins capture the doublespeak built into the concept. When we call people lazy, including ourselves, we're often pointing out that they're too tired and weak to be productive, while often simultaneously accusing them of faking feebleness to get out of work for malevolent purposes. As Dr. Price puts it, the idea that lazy people are evil fakers who deserve to suffer has been embedded in the word since the very start. Shunning laziness is integral to the American dream. The Puritans who colonized New England believed that laziness led to damnation. They used this theology to justify their enslavement of Black people, whose souls they claimed to have saved by turning them into productive laborers. This view has endured in American culture. Hundreds of years later, working to the point of self-harm to build the boss's wealth is still lauded as a good work ethic in America. And the word lazy is still connected to racism and injustice. It's poor, unhoused, young, Black, brown, mentally ill, fat, and chronically sick people who are most often accused of sloth. We rarely hear about lazy billionaires, no matter how much of their fortune is inherited. For decades, I feared being labeled lazy because of my chronic fatigue. I pushed myself past my physical limits, all the way to severe illness to prove my worth. Disabled activism taught me that stigmatizing rest is not just bad for my body, it's bad for the world. The pandemic demonstrates in a visceral way how staying home and doing less can be a form of activism. The pandemic has also illustrated how respite is not widely available to most essential workers in this country, with tragic consequences for everybody. The lack of sick leave, family medical leave, and the opportunity to work from home is essential and is not the case for low-wage jobs that have thrown kerosene on the viral fires of the pandemic. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it goes on, but Jason, I see, has put the link to this in the chat, so you can all get there. But I think there was a question from Miranda. Let's see. Rabbi Koch, well, she thanks you for your openness and for teaching us about being disabled. And Jan Archibek says, beautiful speech, Miranda. Carol Castaneda says, great speech. Teresa Seitz says, Miranda, would you like to talk about your new job, which we will give you a moment to do. And Freda Oppenheim says, thank you, Miranda, for being so brave. And Barbara Droutman says, thank you, Miranda, for sharing your story. You're brave and lovely. Good luck on your new job. And Joan Pasternak says, thanks for sharing, Miranda. You mentioned the lack of seating at businesses. Many stores that had provided some seating have, unfortunately, for seniors and others, now eliminated that. I wonder why. I don't know why. But Miranda, you want to tell us about your new job?
Sure. I already direct messaged Teresa when she asked me that, but I'm a nanny. I watch a 9-year-old, an 8-year-old and a 2-year-old, and they're very chaotic, but they're very fun.
That sounds exhausting for someone who doesn't have a lot of energy.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Trying to chase around a 2-year-old when you're on like half a spoon, it's really hard, but it's worth it because I love childcare.
That's great. Ezra, you have a question?
I do. Miranda, do you have any trouble making friends? Do you have friends?
I actually don't have a lot of friends. It's really hard to keep friends because of my fibro. I'm a flake. I don't show up to things when I'm in too much pain too, or I'm way too tired, or I forget that I had something planned. And then I lose friends. I can make friends, but then I'll lose them.
That's really sad. Regina says, Miranda, I have MS and I use a handicap sticker. Many folks think I'm faking it, but I have to make sure my legs remain strong enough to drive home again. It took me a while to get used to it and the comments. This is the worst thing, is like when people say you're faking it, right? And you know how much you're suffering.
Yeah, that's the worst part. Because I look young and I look relatively normal, so I have the same problem. People don't believe I'm disabled.
Yeah, but you don't only look young, you are young.
Well, yeah, I look my age.
No, she's actually 80, but she's preserved herself really well. Just teasing. Well, thank you, Miranda. It is very brave for you to come out and share this with us, because it's really not easy to admit to all this, right? And especially, the mental stuff, which is also invisible, although it becomes visible when, sometimes you said you have certain episodes in public and people think, what is this woman doing? So thank you. And I hope that all of us will be, more aware now. And I'm so glad you got a job.
Me too. I've been looking for one for like 2 years.
Yes, I know you have. Speaking of the pandemic, the numbers are going down in Riverside, despite the fact that I think only like 60% of our population is vaccinated. But a few weeks ago it was 35% positivity. It's gone down to about 19. So our plan is that after the first service in March, we will be back in the sanctuary, unless something surprises us again, which I hope will not be the case. So hoping to see people in the flesh in a few weeks. And aside from that, we do have a lot of adult ed coming up. So please take a look at the schedule and please join us, because it's always, really enlightening. Does anybody else have an announcement? Carolee, did you have something or not? You're muted.
Okay, there I'm not. Well, the next thing is that the youth group is going tubing on the 19th. And I've never been tubing. I don't even know what tubing is, but evidently you go down the hill on a inner tube. It's supposed to be a lot of fun. So that's our next project.
I guess you will find out, and maybe
Yes.
you'll even do it yourself.
Well, maybe.
Maybe. And, Eileen is wonderful at collecting clothing and food that we leave at the temple for those who are needy. So please, think about dropping things off at the temple. She brings it to Arlington Temporary for people who are hungry. And she also brings things to Lori Rich, who has the organization Taking It to the Streets with Lori and Shira to help homeless people who have pets. So please think about those who are needy and come by and drop some things off for them. And I think we'll continue with the Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teit gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kugoye haratzot velo samanu kamishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam helkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kehol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umordim, Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu shehu notei shamayim veyoser haaretz umoshav yakaro bashamayim imal ushchinatu zo pegav he meromim hu Eloheinu ein od Emet Malkeinu Efesulato Kakatu Vitorato Viadata Hayam Vehashevota Elevaveha Ki Adonai Hu Elohim Bashamayim Mimal Ve'al Haaretz Mitahat Ein Od Ein od. Takatuv b'toratecha Adonai imloch leolam va'ed. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz. Bayam hahu yeh Adonai echad. Ushemo Ushemo Echad. And the beautiful changing of all of these wonderful slides is thanks to Christine Lietman, who followed along so perfectly. Thank you, Christine. You want to wave to us? I think you have to say something in order to pop up on the screen.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Oh, pleasure.
Thank
Shabbat
you so
shalom.
much. Thank you so much for your help. There she is. Okay. We now take a moment to think of those who are no longer with us. May their memories be for a blessing. And of course, we spoke about light tonight, and their lives continue to light up our lives, even as they're no longer here. We offer our condolences to Elise Hayton on the passing of her brother, Everett Allen Kaplan. We're also observing Shloshim for Dr. Ina C. Katz, sister-in-law of Gerald Katz, Sharon Zorn Katz, and Rosalie Silverglade Anderson. Is anyone else observing the first year Shiva or Shloshim and would like to mention a name? I have some in the chat here. Edith Tanakazi, first year. Pauline Geerlings, first year. Elena Archibek Ferris, first year. Stan Walkman and Joanna Eslin, first year. First year, Alan Pasternak and Myrna Pavelak. First year, June Carpenter. First year, Elaine Burke. First year, Cheryl Patnott. Shloshim Ezel Walton. Are there any others? We're also observing yard sites this Shabbat for Ruth Axel Weinstein, Elizabeth Magnus, Iris Harris, Deborah Simon, Barbara Ram Droutman, Ruth Crane, Helen Virginia Reaver McAvoy, Milton Fendel, Leah Sorotnik, Robert Gillis, Sarah Asher, David Tenenbaum, Edith Orens, Ben Miller, Lester Weintraub, Rose Havis, Bella Popper, Gisela Baumel, Rebecca Brandfield. Is anyone else observing a yard site this Shabbat? Please join me in the Mourner's Kaddish, and please feel free to unmute if you'd like to join me. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, ve'almad yivrach yechukei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon v'yom echon, v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'yizman karim yimru. Amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach ve'olam malmei almaya. Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitba'ar, Yitromam, Yitnaseh, Yithadar, Yitale, Yitalal, Shemei Kudusha, B'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushpachata v'chemata, ha'amiran be'alma, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Imra, Amen. Oseh shalom b'marav, uya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, Imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved, as together we say, Amen. Our closing song is Shir LaShalom, a song for peace. And it's actually the song that Yitzhak Rabin had in his pocket when he was murdered. Please mute again if you wouldn't mind.
Trula shemesh lahot leboker lahir hazacha shevat filot otanu loch zahir mi asher kavanero uve'afanit man Bechima lo yahiro, lo yasiro lechan. Ishotanu lo yashiv, mibor tachti tafer, kan yo ilu bo simchat hanichzachon, velo shivrei halel, lachshen lachshiru, Shiru shalom, al tichashu tefillah, mutav tashiru, shira shalom, v'tzeka gedola. Tula shemesh lahador, habad lavrachim, al tabitu lachor, hanichu laholchim. Su enayim et betikva, lo derech kavanot. Shiru shir lahava, velo lamichamot. אל תגידו יום יבוא, הביאו את היום, כי לא חלום הוא בכל הכיכרות, ערירו לשלום, לכן רק שירו שיר שלום, אל תכחשו תפילה, מוטב שירו שיר שלום, בצחה גדולה. שירו שיר השלום, אל תכחשו תפילה, מוטב תשירו שיר שלום, בצחה גדולה.
And we're going to do a motzi. I have a slide with a motzi on it. So Jordan, are you ready?
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Mute.
Thank you, Jordan, very much for your beautiful music tonight. And thank you all for being here. If people would like to stay and chat, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, Shabbat Shalom. Have a good evening and a great weekend.
Shabbat Shalom and thank you.
Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom.
Shalom, everyone.
Thank you,
Beautiful
Jordan, for your music.
Wonderful service.
Shabbat
Thank you.
Shalom, everyone.
Thank you,
Good night.
Rabbi. Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.
Shabbat shalom to all.
Yes.
Shabbat Shalom.
Everyone stay
Shabbat
well.
Shalom.
Good night, Suzanne. Good night.
Good night.